Hi everyone, today I'm reviewing the, I guess it's pronounced Kaito Voyager Pro. This is an emergency radio, but I have to be honest with you, I got this to take on the beach with me. And the reason why I got this is because it was solar powered, or it is solar powered, and it also has a crank um, to it. But I had that, honestly, the crank isn't all that great, but we'll get into it in a second. Anyway, I got this for the beach because I wanted a radio that would last all day long. Because you're at the beach and you're out there hours at a time. You don't want your radio to die on you. So I got this to because it was solar powered and it was rechargeable. However, this is really a an emergency weather alert radio. So that's what this is technically. That's what this is. So if you're looking for an emergency radio, this might be the one for you. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to open it up here, and this is available on Amazon, and I will have the link in the description below the video. So let's go ahead. I don't want to rip the box open. Okay, it does come with a micro USB cable, and we're going to set that to the side. Here is the manual. The manual is pretty decent. It does have some photos and it tells you where everything is. So it's pretty informative. So the manual is pretty decent. And let's go ahead and take out the radio itself. Let's put this box to the side here. Alright, so here is the radio. So the first thing I want to do is we want to turn around to the back, open up the battery compartment. We're going to take this little plastic thing out. There's a reason why I keep the plastic in there with the battery, and I'll explain that later. So here's the battery. This is one of the positives about this. You can replace these batteries. So that is a positive thing. So we're going to just go ahead and put that in there like that. I'm going to slide this up like this. And here is the radio. As you can tell, it's on and it's showing the time. And it shows you the temperature. As you can see, it's pretty warm in this room. And it shows you the humidity. So one of the things I do not like about this is that it's always on. And I don't mean the radio part, I mean the clock part. That's a good thing and a bad thing. And we'll get into it in a second. So here is the power button. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on. It's kind of loud. The volume button is on the side. Here's the volume control, and here is the tuner control. Let's tune this to a station that I can actually demonstrate for you. So there's the radio. It's not too bad. It's not a stereo radio, but let's be honest, it's an emergency radio, so it's not going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that down for a second. You do have multiple power options to use for the radio. So right now it's on solar crank, but if we turn it up here, it's on battery power. And if you turn it down, this is an adapter. Of course, that is for if you have it plugged into a wall. All right, so I'm going to put it back up to battery for now. This button here is for your FM. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. I hope you can. And the WB is for your weather station. So let's go ahead and hit WB.
This is a statement from the National Weather Service. For the following,
there's the weather channel there, and if you use the tuner, it goes through different WB channels. In this room, I'm only picking up one, but it's good enough for me to
Chesapeake Bay from Pools Island to Sandy Point
to demonstrate the weather channel. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and put back the FM, and this button here is for AM. It's not really going to pick up anything in this room because I don't get very good reception in this room. But that is for AM. We'll go back to FM. At the top, you can set up alarms, as you can see here, and you can basically use this as an alarm clock if you really wanted to. So it's had different sets of alarms, and you can also set an alert status as well. I could never get the alert status to work correctly, but I've read online other people have, so it is what it is. Here's the standard sleep and snooze. This button here is for the flashlight. As you can see, flashlight works pretty decent. And if we flip it over, this is the solar panel. And if you flip this little lever up, the solar panel goes up, and here's lights here. And this is for like a reading light. At least that's what it says. To turn on the reading light right at the top, and you switch over, and the reading lights will be lit up. One of the issues I had with this is that, as you can tell, the solar panel thing never stays up. It always falls down. I mean, to me, that's annoying because when you're sitting out there on the beach or wherever, I wanted my solar panels to be up, of course, facing the sun, and it never does because it always falls down. Right here is the antenna. Pull the antenna out. So it's not a bad radio for an emergency situation, but I wouldn't use it for if you want like a stereo radio or something like that to use at the beach or at an outing or something. Of course, this isn't going to be it, but it's good enough to play music, and it's good enough to give you weather alerts, that type of thing. It does have multiple power. Like I said, here is the crank on the side right here, and you crank it that way. You're gonna have to crank this quite a few times to get any power out of it, and even so, I'd say I cranked it for like a good 10 minutes, and I only got maybe 5 minutes of power. So take that for what it is. This isn't really works out for me, but if you need an emergency light source, that might work out. On the back here, if you flip open this little flap right here, there is a USB slot, and you can use this to charge your cell phone in an event of an emergency, which is also good. There's also has a DC power outlet for if you want to plug the radio in instead of using a power supply, and it has jacks for headphones. So it's not too bad. And this right here is for the micro USB, so you can also use the micro USB cable. You can plug this into a power supply and use that as a power source. Nice LED screen. It's about 3 inches. And like I said, it has the temperature. You can tell in this room it's like 79 degrees. So it's kind of hot. Anyway, this is the Voyager Pro. It's available on Amazon. If you're interested, I'll have the link below, and stay tuned for the pros and cons. Thanks, guys. Alright, so now the pros and cons for the Voyager Pro KA600L. We're going to start off with the pros. I love the fact that it has a USB connector in the back so that you can charge other USB devices. So basically, the radio can be used as a power bank, and I like that a lot. So that's a nice little touch. It does have a bright LED flashlight and reading light, which is nice and unique. I really like that a lot. I love the multiple power sources. Not only can you use the crank, but you can also use the solar panels, and you can also plug in a DC power adapter as well. So, multiple ways that you can use the radio, and with this rechargeable battery, it works out very well. It's got a nice 3-inch LCD screen. It's nice and big, and it's easy to read. I like the dual alarm feature. It does have very easy radio tuning. It also has a headphone jack, so that you can also use a headphone and not disturb other people, so that's nice. And I like the little thermometer and humidity indicator in the front. That's nice little touches. But, of course, like everything, this does have some cons. And some of the things that you might not like about it, I know I didn't like about it, was the solar panel. It just won't stay up. And I'm not the only one who complained about this. In some of the reviews, others have complained about that too. I don't know why they couldn't just add like a little click feature to where it clicks or locks into place. Even a little like latch or something to help lock it up. That would have been nice. But as it is now, I have to jury rig it in order to keep the panel up. So that's pretty annoying. It is a little pricey for what it is. I mean, it's an emergency radio. It does have a lot of features on there, but it is kind of pricey. And I don't want to list the price in the video because it always changes. But at the time we got it, I thought it was a little on the high end. Also, this radio will not take a beating, so be very careful. This is the second radio I got because I dropped the first one and it landed just right, just on the corner of it, and it broke. I mean, the plastic just chipped right off. I don't like the crank either. Now, the crank, if you're just going to use it as an emergency flashlight, the crank works, and you can use the crank for a good solid 2 minutes, and you'll get the flashlight will last for just a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes, but it's enough to see where you're going and see around. But as for using the crank just to power the radio, I wouldn't. It didn't never work for me. Another thing I don't like about it is it won't fully turn off. That's a problem. Now, considering this, they market this as an emergency radio, you want it to be able to turn it on and have it, actually turn on and be powered for an event of an emergency. And if it's always on, and what I mean by always on, I don't mean that the radio itself is on, but when you power it off, there's still power going to the clock. Now, I know what you're thinking. That clock can't possibly take that much power, and you're right. However, I store my radio, and I could be storing my radio for months at a time. And I want to know or have that satisfaction that when I need the radio, I can turn it on and it's going to work. It's not going to be dead. That's what you want in an emergency radio. Am I wrong? And another thing you have to be careful with is the radio is not waterproof. So if you want to take this, for instance, hiking or camping or like I do to the beach, make sure you keep it dry because it's not waterproof. Now, another thing, I wasn't sure what category to put this in. It has a 2000 mAh lithium battery. Now, the battery is removable. However, what I've read online from other users who purchased the radio, you can't replace it. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I never really tried, but I like to think that I can replace the battery whenever I want. However, some people are stating that you can't. So I'm not sure, and I haven't really verified that. So that's why I left that, kind of off to the side. And I can't really rate that. So based on my personal usage and everything that I just listed here with the pros and cons, my final verdict for this is going to be a 3 out of 5 stars. And what's knocking it down is I hate the solar panel that won't stay up. The crank, and especially with it not being waterproof, there's no protection there. So it knocks it down a little bit. But it's still decent enough. You can find others out there that are cheaper, but might not do as much as this one does. But to me, it's worth a buy, I think. In my personal opinion. I have no issues with it other than the solar panel. That's what really irritates me the most. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I have more coming up. And thank you for watching. As always, thank you for your support as well. Take care.